Hello, I'm Debbie Bell-Hosking for Finextra TV here at Sibos in London, and I'm talking to Eddie Haddad of SWIFT. Hello, Eddie.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you finding Sibos?
It's great. It's a very big one this year because of the fact that it's in London. So you have 11,000 plus participants. It's good that it's all on one level though. In the past, they've been on multiple levels, the exhibition stands. I must confess, I haven't really seen a lot of things. I saw the MI breakfast this morning, but apart from that, I've been in client meetings.
Well, let's talk SWIFT GPI.
Okay.
What sort of impact has it had on the payments business in Asia Pacific?
Yeah, broadly, it's the biggest thing to happen in cross-border payments in 30 years. Specifically in Asia, the take-up has been very good. So we figured by the end of this year, there'll be something like 120 banks live, and that represents 85% of all volumes. All volumes will be on GPI in Asia. So the take-up has been phenomenal.
And what about corporates? Is it of benefit to them?
Yeah, I mean, you think about the initial beneficiaries of the GPI service, and it is the corporate. So if you're a corporate treasurer, in the past you haven't seen where deducts are happening along the way. You don't know when the payment is going to be received. You don't know when funds are coming in. All of that is being addressed through the information that we now capture in GPI, that the bank then can provide that information to their corporate. And if the corporate is multi-bank, so they have many banking relationships, there's a new service coming out where they can actually receive a consolidated view of all their banks' content over GPI.
Now, next steps. What initiatives can we expect to see?
There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot in the roadmap. So they were phasing it like, adoption, yeah, and then new features, and then in an expansion phase. And from an adoption point of view, we want to make sure that everyone basically can get the benefits of the service. And there's new features that'll be around. So things like request to pay, for example. So if you're buying something on Alibaba, at the moment, anything over say $1,000 on Alibaba, you pay with your credit card. That transaction often fails. But with a request to pay, you could have a situation where a seller is basically requesting you to pay before they ship the goods. That information being captured. You as the buyer can say yes, put your bank account details in, goes over GPI, and then a payment gets triggered over GPI to the Alibaba merchant. And there's something like 150,000 Alibaba merchants, for example. So those kind of things you'll see in the future.
And earlier you were chatting about instant.
Yeah. So one of the other things that we've seen with GPI is that we can deliver payments very fast now, cross-border, but there is also all of these real-time networks that are being stood up in the region, in the APAC region, but also globally. So we think it makes a lot of sense to connect GPI into those real-time networks, and the benefit then is that you'll get instantaneous payments. You'll get longer opening hours because those real-time payment networks are open a lot longer than the traditional high-value payment networks, and you'll get all the benefits of the tracking and the remittance data to the end beneficiary. So you could have a situation where a Chinese student studying in Australia can have their school fees paid by their family in China instantly, with all of that information being tracked and traced and being presented to the university in Australia, for example. So lots of benefits. And then the other major benefit, I suppose, is there's been a lot of new entrants into the payment space, and in many respects, they're running around blowing PE money, but some have caught traction. But if you're a bank and you have a customer and you have a mortgage with that bank and you have a car loan with that bank, you might not have the remittance business with that bank. It might have moved off. But now with GPI Instant, you can provide that service. You've got the liquidity, you've got the reach, you have the relationship with the customer. So lots of benefits from GPI Instant.
And can you elaborate on the deadline by the end of 2020? And is there that confidence that the SWIFT community will be able to implement the service by that time?
Yeah, so the deadline you're referring to, I believe, is the confirmation of the GPI payment. So there's kind of two parts. There is joining the service and joining the SLA and getting all the benefits of GPI, and the adoption of that is ramping up. And then along the way, we've had to do some mandatory things for the community. The first one was to make sure that they could receive a GPI payment. And by 2020, we want to now make sure that they can confirm a GPI payment. So that basically means that end to end across the 220 countries that we operate in, across those 11,000 participants, there will be confirmation that payment has been made into the end beneficiary's account. And so I think, if you've adopted the service, and you're live on the service, and we'll have 95% of the traffic on the service, that tail end of customers confirming should be okay as well, we think. And it's part of the standards release, and that happens every year, so it shouldn't be any different with this one.
Well, Eddie, thank you so much for chatting to us. It's the last day of Sibos, so enjoy what's left of the conference.
I certainly will. Thank you very much.
Thank you.